G'day guys, I've just returned from Adelaide Uprising, which is Australia's largest singles 40k event, where I took a World Eaters list that you guys selected from the comments section of one of my recent videos, and I played 8 games of 40k and only got a single loss. So I had an absolutely fantastic event, it was a ton of fun, and in today's video, we're going to break down all of the tactics and strategies I used in each game. We're going to go through my opponent, the mission, how I deployed, and I'm going to share all of that information with you vlog style. So with that being said, let's get stuck into the video.
Exalted. Brought to you by Baron of Dice.
Alrighty guys, before we start, just a quick word on the RTT that I played before I drove to Adelaide for Uprising. So basically I wrote this list and I took it to an RTT to test it, and then took it to Adelaide Uprising. So in total, I played 11 games with this list. Now, at Adelaide, I recorded a recap after every game so that I'd give you fresh updates on the details of those games. However, at the RTT, I didn't do this, so I thought I'd just do a quick summary of the RTT first, and then we'll kick off the vlog and all of the results from the Adelaide Uprising games. So at the VTC, the Victorian Fundraiser RTT, I played 3 games. I won 2 and lost 1. My loss was into Deathguard, into playing a friend of mine named Tony. His list had a Demon Prince, some Death Shroud Terminators, a bunch of Bloat Drones, Mortarion, a Rhino full of Plague Marines, a bunch of Poxwalkers, and I think that's about it. And there was a critical mistake that I made in this game where I basically sent Khan and his unit into the Demon Prince, thinking it's Khan the Betrayer and 10 Berserkers. I put a CP on him for an extra AP, and I'm like, they kill almost anything. But it turns out they don't kill this Demon Prince, even on average dice, and I should have known better. And as a result, failed to kill it. He then killed most of that unit, and that flipped that objective. And then in his turn, he was able to kill the rest of the unit, and then that Demon Prince was still alive. Massive problem that was able to go down my backfield. And the other thing was, he had one of those Mephitic Blight Haulers, and he rapid ingressed that in, and I was put in a position where I could either kill it or a bunch of the Plague Marines. I made the decision to shoot the Landraider at the Plague Marines, which resulted in that Blight Hauler surviving, and then he was able to push that in deeper into my lines, and then use that to get a 6-inch deep strike and charge with his Terminators on my home objective. So a couple of big mistakes made in that game caused me to lose the game. But it was a first game playing this new list. You're always going to make mistakes when you're playing something that you're not super familiar with. So, and I haven't played against Deathguard in a long time either. I think if we take it back, I could win that game, but not with the way it went down. So the Landraider was good in that list. In that matchup, it shot a bunch of stuff. It nearly killed Morty in shooting. Angron then finished Morty off in combat, so Angron was really good. So the list performed well. I just made a few mistakes. Then my next game was into a Dark Angels player, and I played against him, and he was relatively new to the tournament scene. He had a ton of Hellblasters, he had a Fights First Judicia, Blade Guard unit, and then he had a Landraider with Azrael and a bunch of Intercessors in it, and then a bunch of other just Dark Angels bits and bobs. That matchup was relatively easy. He moved his Landraider up early. I then sent Angron into the Landraider with 8-bound and Spawn, so that when Angron fight, kill the Landraider, the Azrael's unit disembarks, and then I can pile in and fight the Azrael's unit with the Spawn and the 8-bound. So pretty much deleted that package, and then Angron was able to jump over and run through his lines. Hellbrutes did a ton of work in this matchup. I had a Hellbrute that charged into the Judicia Fights First unit, turned on neg 1 damage. He then fights first, fails to kill the Hellbrute. Then the Hellbrute reactively attacks, and then is selected to attack, so basically got 2 rounds of fighting, and wiped out that unit. So Hellbrutes are really good into Fights First units, provided the Fights First unit isn't going to kill the Hellbrute. But yeah, so that's a really effective way of solving those puzzles. That matchup wasn't particularly interesting. Like I said, my opponent was relatively new, so I spent a lot of the time sort of teaching him bits and bobs, and then just sort of testing out components of the list, like testing if I put a neg 1 damage Hellbrute into a Fights First unit, what happens, So that was fine. Got a big win there, and then the third game was into a guard list, a really interesting guard list. It had no Bulgrin, but it had a ton of other really interesting units. It had 2 Dawns, it had 2 Vanquishers, it had a bunch of infantry units, scouting units, infiltrating units, Gaunt's Ghosts, yeah, a ton of different just guard stuff. I don't really recall it too precisely, but that was an interesting matchup. Basically, the way the guard matchup always goes is I use my spawn to trade for his small pieces early, then when he's out of small pieces, you rapid ingress the Exalted 8-bound with the Slaughterbound, and they go in and they just destroy tanks. Angron comes out, he goes in and just destroys tanks, so it's all about utilizing your elements early to remove those trading pieces and remove his screens so that you can then drop your heavy anvils and go in and do your heavy damage. So that one was really good, and got another big win there. So that's the 3 games from the Victorian Fundraiser RTT, and played that, and technically lists for Uprising were due that night, so I could have taken the opportunity to make changes to the list there. And one of the changes that I was considering, which we'll talk about again at the end, was the Landraider. The Landraider wasn't particularly good at the RTT, so I was considering that change. But given that we'd had the competition to vote on which list I was going to run, I decided I was going to honor it, not change the list, and take it to Uprising. So now let's kick off the vlog style recap from Adelaide Uprising 2026. G'day guys, here we are, Adelaide Uprising 2026, and we're about to get started. I've got my world leaders with me, I've got Angron, I've got a Landraider, absolutely sick list as voted by you on my YouTube channel, so really excited to test out this list for you guys. I've had 3 games with it at a practice RTT last weekend, and I'm about to get stuck into 8 more. We start in about 10 minutes, so I'm going to flip the camera, give you guys a quick look around the event space, and then we'll get stuck in round 1. Alrighty guys, here we have the hall that Uprising's at. Got a little cafeteria over here for drinks and snacks, and then we go into the hall itself. Nice big basketball stadium. And as you can see, all the nerds have started filling in. Here's an example of the tables that we'll be playing on. So as you can see, it's sort of a hybrid between the WTC and the GW layouts. The GW terrain layouts with the placement of the basing on the ruins and stuff, but a lot of the ruins themselves are more of the WTC style. So it's an interesting little bit of a mix-up. Should make for some very interesting games as Warhammer. Hey, Wudsy! He's one of the blokes that's always yelling at me to do Gore Track, and I'm starting to think it's worth listening to him. Let's see if we can have a quick look at some of the armies on show. Got a cool Sisters of Battle army here. It looks like Admech. Astra Militarium. Let's keep whipping around, see if we can find a few more armies. There's Dylan Cowan, Team Victoria, running his Space Marines. We've got Brian playing his Necrons. We've got an Eldari army here, that's cool. Here we have something more our speed. This looks like Chaos Demons with a very blood-soaked look. That's fucking sick. Space Wolves. Necrons over there, tons of Necrons. Tau. You look at the lineup for this event, there's so many Necron armies. It's crazy. Those Catan are real popular right now. We've got a sick World Leaders army here, a couple Forge Fiends. Good man. Here's some more vacant tables for you. One of the things I really like about Uprising is they've got these clocks up on the wall there that allow you to make sure that your chess clock is set correctly if you're using one, and if you're not using one, you still have access to some form of indication of the time, which is good to see. Got Josh Pope over there with his Custodians. We've got here some Dark Angels, some more Eldari, that's cool, good to see. Got an Orc army in this case, very nice. What else we got? That looks like some Blood Angels. That looks like some more Blood Angels, or maybe just vanilla Marines. Let's head back down this way. We've got the Risky Rollers on the stream back there. They're going to be doing some streaming, so make sure to tune into them. We've got some Knights, some more Knights, more Custodies here. And what do we got? We've got Marines, Sisters, Demons or Deathguard, more Admech. There's my army here. So we've got the new Berserkers, we've got the 8-bound, Slaughterbound, Spawn, Hellbrutes, Angron, Forge Fiend, Landraider. This is the case that I brought, which was brought from what's called Warband Vault. Tested this on the drive, and it was absolutely amazing. Not a single model broke, and it was a very bumpy road. And there was some heavy braking when people cut me off on the road, and exactly 0 damages. So highly rate that case for traveling to and from events. And yeah, we're going to get started now, so I'll check back with you guys soon. Did you say you expected more trolling?
Yeah.
Did you look at your Gilliman? Go on, show us. That is MAGA Gilliman.
That is fucking brilliant. Oh, that better clean off.
Maybe.
Maybe? What is it?
We also did one more thing for you.
Yeah, right.
Your best mate, Maduro, is in the army.
Yeah, I saw Maduro.
You saw Maduro?
Yeah, I figured I'd just put him on the base. Who the fuck is Maduro?
You know who Maduro is, bro.
Who's Maduro? Is this him?
He's the latest US personnel.
Personality? I haven't been keeping up with the news. Is there something I should be mad about?
Too good. Adept Roll is an absolute ripper app that allows you to calculate expected results in games of Warhammer 40k with precision, and it's super easy to use with a ton of really, really cool features. Check out Adept Roll and thank them for sponsoring this channel. G'day guys, here we have the end of round 1 of Adelaide Uprising 2026, and a very, very strong start to my event. I played against a lovely bloke named Daniel with his 1,000 Suns. His list had a unit of 10 Scarab Occult with character attached, a couple of units of 10 Rubrics, then he had another unit of 5 Rubrics and another unit of 5 Scarab Occult. He had a Vortex Beast, he had some Bow Goats with a character attached, he had another unit of Zangors on foot, he had a unit of those new robot guys, which are kind of cool, and I think that's about, and he also had a Demon Prince with wings. So that was his list, and it was a really interesting game. He's relatively fresh to tournaments, so he made a few tactical mistakes that I was able to capitalize on and get a pretty big win out of it. So the first thing he did was he infiltrated his rubrics up close, which I was just like, I mean, okay, if you want to feed your units to me, that's fine. Then he won the roll to go first, so in his first turn he just moved them back. But he wasn't able to move them far enough away, so then in my first turn I sent a unit of 8-bound and a unit of Spawn into one unit and wiped that out, and then I sent Khan into another unit and almost wiped that out and took the robots out as well. So more or less neutralized 2 units of 10 rubrics in that first turn, and positioned myself on all of the objectives. The Landraider moved up, got some shots into his Vortex Beast and did 0. I think he did like 1 wound maybe, but really, really bad results from the Landraider shooting. Then we went into his second turn. He brought on his 10-man Scarab Occult so that they could shoot Khan's unit. And in doing so, he made a pretty big mistake where he positioned them near the table edge. And that meant that in my next turn, I was able to bring the Forge Fiend on within 18 inches of them, shoot them. I killed like 3 of them in the shooting phase. Then it went over to his turn. He went to move them, and I overwatched and killed another 5 with Overwatch, which just meant that nearly 500 point unit of his, I was able to pick it up for very cheap. And because he killed Khan's unit in the shooting phase, Khan stood back up, and then Khan went out and charged a unit of 5 rubrics and killed that. So at this point, to bottom of turn 2, He's lost a unit of 10 Terminators, both units of 10 rubrics, a unit of 5 rubrics, a ton of stuff. In his turn 2, sorry, I rapid ingressed the Exalted 8-bound onto an objective, scored primary, and then they jumped out and hit the Vortex Beast and killed that in my turn 2, because I went second. So yeah, by the end of turn 2, he was close enough to tabled that it was a massive blowout. So yeah, really good game to start the event with. I got 100 points. He got 26 from memory. Angron did okay. Like, Angron was a big threat, so basically the Landraider was kind of annoying, and I think this is going to be a consistent theme for this event, that it was very hard to hide it. Luckily he didn't have much serious shooting, but trying to hide the Landraider and Angron at the same time is very difficult to do. But yeah, so the Landraider, basically it moved out and then Angron moved up into its hiding spot, so I deployed it somewhere hidden and they basically swapped. And then later in the game, Angron flew out when he didn't have the Terminators left, he didn't have those big rubric units left. I was like, cool, you now don't have the tools to effectively kill Angron. So then Angron comes out and he's just invulnerable because he just flies around just wrecking shit. So I think that's going to be the sort of play pattern, is that early game I use things like 8-bound Spawn and Khan, then mid game that's when the Hellbrutes and the Slaughterbound come out, and then late game is when Angron comes out. So we'll see if that play pattern holds up, but that's what I'm predicting is going to be the way this army is going to play. Really strong start. We're about to get into round 2. It's hot as balls here. It's like 38 degrees. I've got to find myself some shade to sit in because I'm very, very pale and white and I burn very easily. So I think this is going to be my spot to set up under the tree for these little recaps. And I'll hit you guys back after round 2. Alrighty guys, there we have the end of round 2. I've only got a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna have to make this summary real quick. I played against Emperor's Children army, absolutely fantastic opponent, really, really talented man. He knew what he was doing. He had Fulgrim, a bunch of Noise Marines. He had like 3 units of Noise Marines, one of them with a Cacophonist in it. Then he had 3 units of the Scout guys that have the characters that attach that absolutely murder things. He had a couple of Spawn, he had a couple of Mauler Fiends, and a couple of Rhinos. So that was his list. Really, really brutal EC list. We were playing Purge the Foe, and I got bottom of the turn, which is a huge advantage. And the score ended up as a 92 to 62. However, that score, it makes it sound like I absolutely destroyed him, but it was a really, really tight game for most of it. He basically was threatening me hyper aggressively, so I was playing super cagey because he's faster than me and he has transports, which is very difficult for me to sort of dig my way through. So I was hiding everything, but then it got to a point where the secondaries dictated that this has to be my go turn because otherwise he's going to run away with the score. I rapid ingressed Exalted 8-bound, they killed a Mauler Fiend and a Rhino, and I also brought in a Hellbrute from reserves, and if he had made that 9-inch charge, he would have then killed 2 units of Noise Marines and one of the melee bricks. So that would have been absolutely devastating if it worked. However, he failed that charge. I also sent 2 units of Spawn in, they killed his unit of Spawn. I moved Angron up, I moved a Landraider up, it shot its las cannons and killed his second Mauler Fiend, so I killed both Mauler Fiends in a single battle round, and a Rhino and some Spawn. Then in his response, he basically sent Fulgrim around. Fulgrim charged Angron. He had some of his combat guys charge the Spawn. Noise Marines came around, they shot the Exalted 8-bound unit, killed that. And then when he charged Angron, I put neg 1 damage on, but it wasn't enough. He killed Angron, but then I rolled the fight on death and was able to fight. And then with that fight on death, I killed Fulgrim as well. So the 2 Primarchs hit each other and then both died, which was really cinematic and awesome. But from there, I heroically intervened with some 8-bound as well. So I was able to then heroically intervene, interrupt, because I basically was banking CP in the early turns. So that one turn I had 5 CP, so I spent 2 of them on neg 1 damage on Angron. I spent 2 of them on interrupt, and then 1 of them on a heroic intervention. So that fort killed one of his combat units. So now he more or less just had 2 combat units and a Rhino, and then all of his Noise Marines. And then we went into my turn. I brought a Forge Fiend on, shot a unit of Noise Marines, killed most of them, brought the Khan's unit out, charged, killed 2 more units of Noise Marines and the Rhino that the other guys were in. Then we tick over into his turn. I made sure I had Fights on Death active again. He then charges me with both of his remaining combat units into Khan's unit that was in the middle, and he kills half the unit with his first activation with the neg 1 damage. I either remove casualties from the second unit that hasn't fought yet, so that they don't really get to activate. I fight on death with them and kill most of that unit. And then I get to fight with Khan and his boys and wiped out the unit that fought. So I basically have left him down with next to nothing at this point. And at that point, the Hellbrutes are pushing up, the Forge Fiend's pushing up, the Landraider. The terrain was really ridiculous to the point where the Landraider couldn't really leave my deployment zone because it's so wide. But I basically just parked it front center and it was just firing las cannons downrange all game. It shot into a unit of Noise Marines, killed 4 of them, which is pretty good. So the Landraider did really, really well in this game. Took out a Mauler Fiend and a bunch of Noise Marines, so that was really good. And Angron did really, really good in this game because he was able to take out Fulgrim with him. Now, I know that's based on a 4-up. However, there was every chance that Angron was going to survive Fulgrim's onslaught and then fight anyway. So I had a reasonable chance of getting to fight Fulgrim and hopefully kill him. And I was not expecting to kill him, but I thought if I don't, the Landraider will finish him off with las cannons, or Khan's unit will jump out, whip a grenade at him and finish him off. So I had a few different ways of dealing with Fulgrim there. He's a real problem for this matchup because he has that fights first. It's a real big problem. But turns out Fights on Death is a pretty reasonable solution to that, or something that's as tough as Angron that can sort of withstand that charge, those attacks. In order for him to kill Angron with Fulgrim, he fired 2 units of Noise Marines into him and threw a grenade and then charged Fulgrim in, and that was enough to kill Angron clean. But if he didn't have the CP for that, or if those other units were otherwise engaged, I actually think Angron makes the Emperor's Children matchup playable. Without Angron, you got no chance. So yeah, that wraps up game 2 of day 1, and we're about to go into the third game. So yeah, we'll see how we go. I'll check back with you guys soon. Alrighty, g'day guys. There we have the end of round 3 of Adelaide Uprising 2026, and I got to play a lovely bloke, Liam Stevens, local Victorian boy, and he was running the Emperor's Children as well. So I'd never played Emperor's Children before, and now I played him twice. And it was a really interesting game. He had a very similar list to the previous opponent. However, he still had the 3 Noise Marines in Rhinos. He still had the 3 infiltrating units, scouting units with Lords in them. He still had the 2 infiltrator units. However, instead of Fulgrim and a few Mauler Fiends, he had 2 winged Demon Princes. And then he also had Lucius and a unit of Flawless Blades. So that was the main difference. But this game was nowhere near as close. The difference that Fulgrim makes to the World Eaters versus Emperor's Children matchup is truly phenomenal. This was much, much easier because I didn't have to play around that fights first. I didn't have to play around Fulgrim's insane speed, and he wasn't running that detachment where the Mauler Fiends are running through walls and things like that. So this was much, much more manageable. The Hellbrutes were insane in this matchup. There was one Hellbrute that charged a Rhino, fought, killed the Rhino, piled into a unit of Noise Marines, killed the unit of Noise Marines, and then he had a unit disembark out. Then I activated Fights on Death in the next battle round, and then when he charged in, he killed that Hellbrute, fought on Death, and wiped that unit out as well. So that one Hellbrute, 120 points, just fucking cleaved through one flank. And then we had another Hellbrute. Early game, I got established Locust, so I sent a Hellbrute out into the middle to do that secondary. He shot at the Hellbrute, failed to kill it, got it down to 2 wounds left. I was planning, had he killed it, to sticky the objective on death. But he shot it, didn't kill it. Then that Hellbrute moved forward further 9 inches. He overwatched it, failed to kill it in Overwatch, and then it charged a unit of Noise Marines, killed that, piled into some more stuff. Like, the Hellbrutes were fucking gangster in this game. The Landraider also did really, really well. It shot a unit and then charged it and tank shocked and wiped that unit off of an objective, just with brute force. And then my opponent had to send almost everything in to kill the Landraider. He basically wrapped around the Landraider, and his plan was to try to fight and kill the Landraider, like with the impact mortals from a Demon Prince, and then 2 of his combat units. And he was hoping that impact mortals from the Demon Prince, fighting with the Demon Prince, and then fighting with 1 unit would be enough to kill the Landraider. Then I'd have to disembark out, and he'd be able to pile into and then fight Khan's unit. But because it took the Demon Prince and 1 of his combat units to kill me, I just disembarked on the other side, away from the unit that hadn't fought yet, which meant he wasn't able to fight Khan's unit, and he just presented everything in front of me. And then Khan's unit just went in and just butchered their way through everything. So that was really good as well. What other notable things? Then there was that same turn when Khan's unit went in and butchered all of that sort of stuff. I had Angron fly across. He charged one of the units that Khan was into. Khan fought, killed that unit, and then Angron piled into a Demon Prince, fought and killed the Demon Prince. So now I've wiped out a ton of stuff. I was able to rapid ingress the Slaughterbound unit into the center of the table, and then they just went and hunted down one of his Demon Princes, the other Demon Prince. It was an absolute blood soak of a match. Really, really good, but my opponent got, I think, 28 points to my 100. Like, I just sort of got on top of him, and then as soon as I was on top of him, there was nothing he could do to get me off, and I just was pumping him. He wasn't able to rapid ingress into any interesting spots. Everything that he'd sent down one flank was dead, so he had just no mechanism for taking my home objective, and he had no mechanism for taking my expansion. It was linchpin, and then that turn that the Hellbrute went in from the center, the one that I said was in the center of the board, and I was going to sticky objectives, and he didn't, and then he ran forward and killed the Noise Marines. That Hellbrute was also able to take his home on like the third turn, which meant he got a turn of 0 primary, which is devastating because he didn't have his home objective or any of the midfield ones. And then he had to dedicate significant resources to go back to killing that Hellbrute, because you can't just push a Hellbrute over there. Like, they're actually kind of tough. So Hellbrutes were MVPs in this matchup, absolutely fantastic, but everything worked really well in this. Like, the Landraider worked really well, Angron worked really, really well, Khan worked well, the Hellbrutes worked well, Slaughterbound worked well. Like, this was just a perfect, expression of each one of these units. So that felt really, really good. Undefeated day one, which is always a good start to an event. It is 8 rounds though, so I might just shit the bed and lose the next 5. Who fucking knows? Hopefully not. But yeah, so that's day one wrapped up, and I will check back with you guys tomorrow. Sometimes a player is only as good as the dice he rolls, and Baron of Dice have some of the absolute finest dice available to 40k players. Huge thank you to Baron of Dice for sponsoring this video. Get yours at exalted40k.com today. Alrighty guys, there we have the end of round 4, start of day 2, and I've gone in with another strong result. This time I was paired against a good friend, Pranis. He's running Astra Militarium, and he's running a really interesting list. So it's got double Dawn, double Vanquisher, then he's got a Taurox with some Kassakin in it. He's got, what's his name, Gaunt's Ghosts. He's got Slime Arbo. Then he's got 2 big units of Bulgrin, and then he's got a big unit of guys with the command squad and some stuff in that. And he's got a little engineer squad as well. And then he also had a unit of Rattlings and a couple units of Rough Riders. So that was his list. We're playing on mission layout 4. We were playing Terraform, and I forget the deployment type was Crucible, the one that's got the diagonal line on it. So yeah, that was the setup. I got the first turn, so I basically deployed everything super cagey where he couldn't see me with anything, which did result in the Landraider being way back because there's nowhere to hide that thing. And it sort of underperformed in this. I think the Landraider is probably something I would look to drop. Most games I'm looking at it going, you could just be a Rhino. So it hasn't been super consequential, the Landraider. But yeah, basically it deployed way back. Angron deployed way back on the opposite side so that I had options to go in either direction with my either Berserker unit or with Khan's unit, with Angron. Then I had a Hellbrute deployed. Every game so far I've put a Hellbrute in reserves, I put the Forge Fiend in reserves, and I put the Exalted with Slaughterbound and Deep Strike. And then I basically deployed everything else so that it could scout up into that central objective. So I got the first turn. I got really basic secondaries, so I think I just went out and did established Locus in the first turn, and he had a unit of Rattlings on the center. So I went in, killed those with just some spawn, and everything else pretty much just hid. Then in his turn, he pushed up all the Rough Riders to try to move block me. I was able to then go into my second turn, put the 6-inch pylon and consolidate out, and I was able to do it in such a way that I could charge the Rough Riders with spawn, kill them, and then consolidate back behind a wall. So sort of set up another turn of just denying him any reasonable damage. He then killed, you know, a unit of spawn and a bits and bobs. And then we went into the next round. He got cleanse and another action-based second, secure no man's land, I think it was. So at this point, he kind of had to come out onto the objectives in the middle. So he sent a unit of Bullgren up to get into the center. He sent one of his vanquishers down to get onto an objective to deny me some primary. Then I rapid ingress the Hellbrute. That Hellbrute goes in, kills the vanquisher. And then in that turn, Khan and his unit advanced out of the Landraider, hit one unit of Bullgrens, and wiped that out. And Angron jumped over a wall, hit another unit of Bullgren, wiped that out. That one I did bring the Forge Fiend on, and the only thing it could shoot was the same Bullgren that Angron was going to charge, so shot them, killed like 2 or 3 of them, and then Angron finished the squad. And then this was one pivotal moment in the game, is that Forge Fiend that came on from reserves to shoot the Bullgren, it made a charge, a 9-inch charge from Deep Strike, into a unit of Guardsmen that was on an objective, and then I tank shocked with the Forge Fiend and killed that unit of Guardsmen. So that Forge Fiend's come on and done some shooting, and it's killed something in combat, and now it's on an objective, which means he has to put more things on that objective because he can't just shoot me off it because I'll sticky it. So he has to bring more of his stuff up and to sort of get into the fight. So that was a big pivotal moment. Other big pivotal moments is Angron survived 2 full rounds of shooting that he probably shouldn't have, and an additional round of Overwatch that he probably shouldn't have. I was getting really lucky with those 4-up invulnerable saves on all of the melter shots, and then everything else was doing like incremental damage, wasn't enough to actually pop him. So Angron did really, really well in this game. He took out a unit of Bullgren and a Dawn, and then died, didn't come back. That being said, if Angron was instead multiple smaller units, it would have been more or less just as good, because multiple smaller units could probably do the same. Like a unit of Exalted 8-bound probably takes out a Dawn, and a Demon Prince probably takes out most of those Bullgren as well. So it was much of a muchness on whether or not Angron was great, but he felt good and he was very tough. So I'm really happy with Angron's performance. It was a really, really tight game at the start, but it sort of blew out on the tail end and allowed me to get, I think it was a 79 to like 60 something win. So happy with that as a reasonable sized win. That's 4 games undefeated going into round 5. I'll check back with you guys soon. Alrighty, g'day guys. Here we have the end of round 5, and I had an absolute perler of a game into one of my best mates, Reese Cunningham, who just coincidentally happens to be the favorite to win this event. Really strong list. All of the people online are telling us how he's gonna probably take this out. And he's also captain of Team Victoria, former Team Australia member, very talented player. And he was running the Grey Knights in the detachment. I forget the name of it, but it's the one where you get all the rerolls to hit. And he's got Crow's unit and he can 6-inch deep strike. And this is a really hard matchup for the World Eaters because he can basically use that Crow unit. He can drop down, blast 2 things and set himself up to Overwatch a 3rd. And there's not much you can do to prevent that Overwatch. And then he blasts that 3rd unit and you're in a lot of trouble. So really hard matchup because he's got the 6-inch deep strike as well, so he could in theory drop down, shoot 2 units, charge a 3rd, set himself up to Overwatch a 4th. Like, it's really, really hard. And the 6-inch deep strikes is really, really hard to play around. His list was Crow's unit with that's 10 purifiers for those who don't know, and Castell and Crow. Then he had another 2 units of 5 purifiers. He had 2 units of 5 interceptors or inceptors or whatever the fuck they're called. He had a Storm Raven, the transport flyer, and he has a really cool trick with that where he moves it up, disembarks out 5 purifiers, which gives him an aura of 6-inch deep strike from them, and then he can uppy downy Crow's unit and 6-inch deep strike from that position. So there's nothing you can do to stop him. He's going to go wherever he wants to go, and he's more or less going to kill whatever he wants to kill. So it was a really, really hard game. I ended up getting a 10-10 draw, which was like one of the hardest games of my life. It was a real slog. Key moments, Angron, turn 1, so he got first turn. He moves up to take an objective off me that I'd scouted onto, and so that he can do his secondaries. In doing so, he exposed the flyer. So I sent Angron out to hit the flyer, and I actually disembarked Khan's unit in the first turn, which I almost never do. And I used that to kill 2 units, a unit of Purifiers and a unit of Inceptors. And then I used the spawn to charge that flyer as well, so that when Angron fought, killed the flyer, the guys that were inside had to disembark, and then I was able to kill a few of them with the spawn as well. So in that first opening, like in my second turn, which was, my first turn, literally first turn, my opening move was killing a flyer and sort of 3 squads of dorks. And it felt bad because I'd exposed so much to do it, but I think it was necessary, and I think it was the thing that kept me in the game, because as a result he had too few pieces. He still had 3 librarians, which I think I left out in the summary, and 2 dread knights, so he had all of that. But other than, it was that and Crow's unit after the first turn, and then basically we were trading 1 for 1 on units, or 2 for 1, but I was able to sort of whittle him down, and at the end of the game I still had my Forge Fiend, my Landraider, and my Slaughterbound. The Slaughterbound tanked like crazy and survived things that he definitely shouldn't have survived. Crow's unit, interestingly, I basically sent Angron to go kill a Dread Knight. He sent that to the moon, and then he basically charged in with Crow's unit. So he moved in with Crow's unit, fired all of his guns, fired everything he could, didn't kill Angron in shooting, so then he charges Angron, and then I fought on death, and with the fight on death, I wiped out most of Crow's unit. I think I wiped out 5 of them. And that just meant that now when that unit's teleporting around, being a pain in the ass, it's not doing as much damage. I still didn't resurrect Angron. I haven't resurrected him once yet. But that was really, really good. The Hellbrutes did pretty well. One of them got hit by a Dread Knight and then fought on death and nearly killed the Dread Knight, which made it easier for me to pick it up. And then the other one went for a 9-inch charge from Deep Strike, failed it, and then from there, the next turn, he was able, because he turned around and shot me, but Grey Knights aren't great at killing Dreadnoughts, so he shot me, did nothing to me. Then I was able to go send him and kill a unit of 5 strikes, and then after those 5 strikes had died, he then teleported Crow's unit to go deal with that Hellbrute, and then that Hellbrute also fought on death, and did pretty heavy damage to Crow's unit, killing I think 2 more of them. So ultimately, I think this game should have been a blowout loss. I should have walked away with half the victory points I did, but I got really lucky with those fights on death rolls, and that kept me in the game. And then I also got really lucky with a few key save rolls, which also kept me in the game. So all in all, very good game. Reese is an absolutely lovely gentleman, and he made me work for it, and pulling it to a draw is something I'm very proud of. So now we're going into round 6, and I have 4 wins and a draw, and we'll see if I can continue staving off defeat, because it's I feel it's lingering. But yeah, I'll check back with you guys soon. G'day guys, there we have the end of the 6th round of Adelaide Uprising 2026. I played into a lovely gentleman named Aiden, who is running a really terrifying Necron list. So the greatly feared Satan list, he had Transcendent Catan, he had the Nightbringer, he had the Void Dragon, and he also had the Deceiver, and then he also had the Silent King. So a very chunky list. And then to support, he had 2 units of the little snake destroyers, the squishy ones, and then 2 units of the heavy, like the single heavy destroyers, the ones with the big anti-tank gun. And that was his list. So very, very simple, but very, very terrifying and brutal list. It was a really interesting game. It ended up with a pretty big blowout in my favor. There was a few things that went my way. One of them was a Hellbrute fought on death and half killed the Void Dragon, which changed a decision that I was going to make, which allowed me to then use the Exalted 8-bound to go and one-shot the Silent King. I had sort of positioned them so that they would go for the Void Dragon, but the Hellbrute nearly killing it meant that I was like, well, I'm not going to waste my Exalted 8-bound brick killing a half-dead Satan. So I sent them after the Silent King instead, and they one-shotted him with change, like very easily. and then in future turns I like sent Khan, what was left of Khan's unit, what was Hellbrute, and threw a grenade, tank shocked with the Hellbrute, then fought with the Hellbrute and finished him off. So that's how I dealt with that guy. Turn 1, he postured up. We were playing hidden supplies with the 6 objectives. So I got first turn, I moved on to the objectives. He then in his first turn moved up to auto-see me. He couldn't charge me because I was behind walls, and he couldn't really shoot me because I was out of line of sight. So he just sort of moved up to auto-see me. And then I basically sent Angron into the Nightbringer, sent Khan 8-bound, 2 units of spawn into the Transcendent Catan. And then basically I fought with Angron, got Nightbringer down to a single wound remaining, which was fucking annoying. And then I fought with everything else. He then fought on, I was gonna fight on Death, which he got us on a 3-up, but he failed it. I think that's what happened. Then in the next turn, he stayed in combat with Angron. He shot everything. Oh no, he did fight on, he did fight back and failed to kill Angron. And then in his next turn, he shot at Angron with the Nightbringer's gun and with one of those heavy destroyer dudes, got Angron down to 1 wound remaining, so it was like returning the favor. Then I fought with Angron, killed the Nightbringer, and then he exploded, because he can explode on a 3-up, and that killed Angron. So it was mutually assured destruction there. And in that same second turn when I sent Khan and his boys out, Khan just destroyed the Transcendent from full health to dead. So that was good. The Landraider shot into it to sort of soften it up a little bit, and then yeah, in one activation, Khan just took that Transcendent down. So now it's turn 2 and I've killed 2 of his 5 big Griblies. So that's a result I'm pretty happy with. And then it was kind of just scrapping from there on out. I took out both of his units of little snake dudes. I took out one of his heavy destroyers. So he just really didn't have enough pieces to engage me. He was kind of just engaging me in one place at a time. And I was like, yep, cool, you can take that ground, but I'm gonna take it back. And we basically traded back and forth. So yeah, everything in the list performed really well this time. Again, like the Landraider was good. The fact that it was able to shoot las cannons down and weaken that Transcendent Catan was good. Then it actually got shot at and charged by the Void Dragon and survived, which was, you know, a statistic anomaly, but it was still good, and a Rhino wouldn't have done that. And yeah, there was a few good things about the Landraider in that. The Khan's unit was good. Angron was amazing because I mean he only one shot. He basically went in, killed the Nightbringer, and then died. But in a matchup like this, that's totally fine. He actually got resurrected also on turn 5, the bottom of turn 5, no, top of turn 5, sorry. I went first, and I basically resurrected him, and then he goes into the backfield for some recover assets, which is, you know, it's an extra couple of points. It wasn't super impactful because, yeah, it's only an extra couple of points, and I was already massively ahead, and it was so late in the game. It's not like it impacted any decisions or anything like that, but it was still cool. And yeah, that was the game. So it was a big win to me. It's like a 70 something, or I think it was 84 to 40 something. I can't remember. It's a very long day and I am very tired. But yeah, another big win for me. So that means I'm now on 5 wins and a draw going into the final day, which means I've already, with 2 games left to go, I've already performed better than I did last year, which is great. It means even if I shit the bed tomorrow, it's totally fine. And yeah, we're gonna go for some drinks tonight, celebrate, and I'll check back with you guys tomorrow before the start of round 7. The Army Painter makes some of the finest paints available to Warhammer 40k players, and for a limited time, they have an exalted 40k range that is perfect for getting started with a World Eaters army. Thank you to the Army Painter for sponsoring this video. G'day guys, there we have the end of the 7th round of Adelaide Uprising 2026. I have an interesting revelation from this round, and that is that the TOs decided to do a top cut of 2 in this round, because at this stage of the event there was only 2 truly undefeated players, and they wanted those 2 people to play off for the win. So they've decided that in this round, those two people are playing. Whoever wins that game gets first place for the event overall, and whoever loses gets second place overall, regardless of their 8th round results. So they're playing off the first and second, so now the very best that I can do is third place, and that'll depend on obviously the results of everybody else in the field. So those top 2 are locked in, so I officially can't win the event anymore, which is unfortunate because I was actually on a path to victory. But you know, it is what it is. Each tournament's got to do their own thing, and they've got, you know, unique challenges to solve, so I respect the decision. I disagree with it, but I respect it. Anyway, so as for my game itself, I got paired into a good man named Duncan. He was running Deathwatch, and a really, really scary list for me. He's got a land speeder with melter guns and shit. He's got a unit of Devastator, a 6-man unit of Devastator Centurions that he can uppy downy and blast things. He had 2, I think they're called Fortress kill teams, the ones with all the heavy intercessors and the aggressors and all of that sort of stuff. So 2 of those. And then he had 2 kill teams with the indirect. And then he had a third 5-man kill team that was led by a Watchmaster. He had a captain in Gravis armor that's like half damage and extra damage in melee, like this real beatstick Gravis guy. He was attached to one of those big kill teams. Then he also had a unit of intercessors, a unit of infiltrators or incursors, and also a combi grav, what are they called, Phobos lieutenant guy, and a Calidus assassin. So tons of things that are a real big problem for me. I don't have the Demon Prince for CP shenanigans, so Caliduses are a real problem for me. And I don't have a ton of screening units, so those uppy downy Centurions are a real problem, the uppy downy kill teams are a real problem, so it's going to be a really, really rough matchup. However, I ended up getting another reasonable sized win out of it. There was a few moments that went in my favor. One pivotal moment was I've charged the Slaughterbound with his 8-bound into one of his indirect kill teams, because it got to a point where his indirect had wiped out almost all my spawn, all my jackals, all of my screening pieces were gone. So I was like, next turn, he's going to hit me, and he's going to hit me hard. So I needed just full send. So I rapid ingressed the Slaughterbound unit, charged Angron into another kill team, charged a Hellbrood into another kill team, and the spawn into, my last unit of spawn into his Calidus. Killed the Calidus, killed the kill team over there, and also then piled into an intercessor, whatever it is, infiltrator squad, killed that as well. So that Hellbrute did a bunch of work there. The spawn killed the Calidus, Angron killed the other kill team down to 1 guy left, and then the interesting one was the Slaughterbound and the Exalted that charged 1 kill team. He rapid ingressed for a heroic intervention, which is a really, really strong strategy. However, unfortunately for him, the Slaughterbound and 1 Exalted wiped that whole unit down to just the character left. So I had Sustained and Devs up, and I just went and just the Slaughterbound with his 1-turn Super Saiyan went crazy and wiped that whole unit down to 1 guy left. So now I've killed 2 of his big units, most of 1 of his smaller units, and then 2 of his other tiny units. And at that point, I think he just kind of ran out of stuff and was unable to really deal with me. So that was really, really good. The Hellbrutes were popping off in this game. Then he dropped another one down, shot some spawn off the center, and the Hellbrute came on and fought twice into that, killed it. The Landraider was, during this game, felt really bad the whole time. I was just like, because it's so big, in order to try to hide it so that he can't just uppy downy Centurions and blast it, in order to hide it, I had to put it all the way effectively in my back corner, which was kind of annoying. However, it did, because it's so big, it did do a pretty effective job of screening out that area, because it projects a big aura of 9-inch area denial. So that was good. And then it was like battle round 4, it moves up. So Khan's unit disembarks, sends out into the center, it moves over, it shoots, kills the land speeder with the las cannons. And then in turn 5, it killed that character that survived from the Slaughterbound and a single intercessor as well, which cleared him off of an objective. So it felt bad the whole time, but then it had that one turn where it's like that, you know, the last couple of turns where I was like, this shooting at this point of the game is actually just oppressive. And it was still at full health. He had no way of dealing with it. If the game continued, it would have just gotten worse for him, because that Landraider can then run around and tank shock things. Its tank shock is amazing. Even its combat's not half bad. So the Landraider, it felt really, really bad all the way up until the end, and then I was like, actually, this is really good. Angron felt really, really good in this game as well. So because he's so fast and has a relatively big base in that first turn, so my opponent went first. And so then in my first turn, I was able to send Angron over into a corner, and with that 14 inches plus an advance, he was able to get into the corner and bubble that all out. Then I was able to use one of the 8-bound units that had scouted up to just move in front of Angron, so they couldn't drop and shoot Angron, and they couldn't drop behind Angron because of the base size. So that was really, Angron was really effective, and then he goes in and he wiped out a kill team even through Overwatch and things like that. And because he's such a scary threat, your opponent's always going to be trying to deal with him, and as a result, you're able to get a lot of value out of your Berserkers, out of your Spawn, out of your 8-bound, those sorts of things. So yeah, really, really interesting game. I think the 8-bounds were the sorry, not the 8-bound, the Hellbrutes were the MVPs so far, for the entire event so far. They're just so freaking good. But yeah, so we're about to go into lunch break, and then we're going to hit round 8. And if I win round 8, I should be locked into 3rd place. But if I don't, I'm currently sitting on 6 wins and a draw, which is an amazing result. So even if I lose this next round, I'm a happy boy. But we'll see how we go, and I'll check back with you guys soon. Alright, g'day guys. There we have the end of the 8th and final round of Adelaide Uprising 2026. And there was an interesting realization at the start of this round, which was that, as discussed earlier, it basically didn't matter what happened. I couldn't win the event. But then we also realized that the other player, the player that I played in round 4, Reese Cunningham, who me and him got a draw, his victory points were so high that even if I got a massive win in this round, I wouldn't even come 3rd, because he got a massive win in this round as well. So it was a situation where it was like, cool, I'm fighting for potentially 4th, which is, it's still exciting, but it was kind of demoralizing that the system was set up that way, that no matter how hard I went, even if I went 7 wins and a draw, I would still only come 4th. So that was kind of demoralizing. I got paired into Jono Bishop, absolutely lovely gentleman, and he was the guy who was locked into 2nd, because in round 7 he was playing off for the win and he lost that game. So he was locked into 2nd. No matter what happened in our game, he was going to get 2nd, and no matter what happened in our game, I was at best going to get 4th. So we kind of just played a pretty relaxed, chill game. Like I said, lovely bloke, and he was playing a really interesting Tau list. So he had a couple Riptides, Ghost Keel, a unit of rail cannon broadsides. He had an ion cannon hammerhead. He had a bunch of units of Pathfinders. He had a Devilfish. He had some Kroot. He had a couple of Ethereals. He had a Crisis unit with a ton of missiles playing Mont'ka. And then he had, I think that was about it. Oh, and a couple of Piranhas as well. And this was also one of those games where I think my luck had just ran out for the event, because nothing was going my way. I had Spawn charging Pathfinders early, failing to kill them, like getting them down to like 1 or 2 models left, and then those 1 or 2 models were able to push out screens, which stopped my deep strikes and my rapid ingresses and stuff, so that was really frustrating. And then I had to dedicate stuff to go and kill 2 Pathfinders, which no World Eaters player ever wants to do. But that was fine. Then Angron died pretty easily and didn't come back. I brought in a Forge Fiend from a table edge and brought up my Landraider, and they fired all of their shooting into 2 broadsides and did like 4 damage. So just completely whiffed. And then those broadsides just turned their cannons onto, I think they actually were what killed Angron in the end. Yeah, so that was really disappointing. The Hellbrutes were amazing in this matchup, and they always are in the Tau matchup. I think this is actually the first time I've lost a game versus Tau. But yeah, the Hellbrutes going in, they ping pong ball around into Tau really, really well, because the Tau can't really kill you in combat, and most Tau units a Hellbrute's going to kill. So I had one of them that killed a Piranha, then went into some Vespid, killed them, and then got shot off that objective and stickied it, so that was good. And I also had a second one, which this was potentially going to be a game-winning move, but it didn't quite pan out. And basically what it was a Hellbrute went into a Ghost Kill, fought that, got it down to like half health, then it fights back, the Hellbrute fights again, kills the Ghost Kill, piles into a Riptide, and then it got the Riptide down to a single wound remaining. Now, if that Riptide had died, it would have then piled into a unit of Pathfinders that was weakened, so it would have killed them. Then it would have piled into an Ethereal, killed him. Then it would have piled into the Commander's unit with his Crisis Suits. Wouldn't have killed all of them, but it probably would have killed 2 of them. And if I had done that and picked all of that up, he then wouldn't have any pieces to push out my screens. He wouldn't have anything to stop my rapid ingress. And the Exalted 8-Man would have then gone in and finished off the unit. And it would have been a massive blowout victory for me. But that Riptide surviving with a single wound left, that essentially cost me the game. So the end score was, if I remember correctly, it was a 69 to 91. So it's my first loss of the event. Jono was an absolutely lovely opponent. He was very, very good with his tower. You know, you have to be to get to this sort of level in the event. And yeah, he was just really good with pushing out his screens. He was, you know, there was some luck that went his way, but he was also just very strategically, you know, robust with his moves. And there was a couple other things, like one of them was where Khan, he shot at Khan's unit and killed it to the last Berserker exactly. If I had passed just one more save, or if he had just missed one more wound or something like that, and one Berserker survived, I would have blood surged in, and then I would have been able to do tons of damage to him because he wouldn't have been able to shoot me. But he happened to kill it exactly on the nose. So there was a few things like that where it was like, if it was one less damage to me, it would have been a big difference, or if it was one more damage to him, it would have been a really big difference. But you know, that's 40k, that's the way it goes. I'm not necessarily blaming the dice, because I know I made a few, you know, mistakes in that game, and I know he was very, you know, crisp and clear with his plays. He didn't really fuck anything up. So it's a combination, and sometimes, you know, when you have that combination, it just costs you the round. So I think I'm probably going to end somewhere in the top 10 based on a 7-1-1 record. But overall, very happy with the list, very happy with the results. Thank you very much for everybody who joined the conversation earlier in my last video talking about it, because now if you take the 3 games from the RTT and the 8 games from this, that's 11 games, and there's 2 losses out of those 11 games. So that's like almost a 90% win rate, which is pretty good. The list did really well. I guess final thoughts would be some some changes. I actually think that probably drop the Landraider and use those points to get, you drop a Landraider and you turn one of the units to spawn into a unit of Jackals, and then you can use those points to get another Forge Fiend and a Rhino for Khan's unit, and then I think the list is spot on. Because that Landraider was so hard to hide, that was really, really frustrating, and the Landraider's shooting wasn't that much better than a Forge Fiend. It was a bit better in some instances, but it was also worse in some instances, so I don't think it was that notable, and a second Forge Fiend would have been good. The other option is to drop the Landraider for a Rhino and then use that 170 points for something else. There's, you know, a few different options you can go down, but ultimately, yeah, that was the list. It was a good game. I didn't have a single problematic game. Every opponent was lovely. Awesome event. It's hot as balls, but you know, that's Australian summer for you. The air conditioner was putting in some heavy lifting, but it's, you know, it can only do so much. But yeah, all right guys, well, thanks for tuning in. I might wrap this up when I get back to the studio, but yeah, that's Adelaide Uprising 2026 done and dusted. I'll see you guys soon. Alrighty guys, so there we have it. That is Adelaide Uprising 2026, the largest event of singles in Australia, where I believe I came 6th out of 170 odd players, running the list that you guys voted for. So thank you very much to everybody who voted. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do another video where I put up 8 different lists and get you guys to vote on which one you want me to see me run at my next tournament. Although this time, I'm going to be taking some more wild sort of spins on the options. So I'm going to write a gore track list, I'm going to write a CSM list, I'm going to write a bunch of different lists, and then you guys can vote on which one that you'd like to see me run at the next tournament, and then I'll do another vlog style recap. So that should be a ton of fun. We're going to spice it up a little bit for that next one. So if there's anything that you'd like to see me explore, chuck a comment in this video, and then I'll make sure that I explore that and make it one of the list options potentially for the future videos. So as for changes that I would make to this list if I was to run it again, the only thing that I would maybe change, and like you could totally just run this list as is, and it's totally fine. It actually works. But the only thing that I probably would change is drop the Landraider and put back in the Rhino, and then use those points to maybe put in another unit of 8-bound, or maybe use those points to put in a Forge Fiend. You'd have to downgrade one of your spawn units into Jackals, but you could do that. You could downgrade spawn to Jackals, downgrade Landraider to Rhino, and that frees up enough points to add in a second Forge Fiend. That's an option. And that's probably the direction that I would take it, because you do still want that shooting, because having 2 Forge Fiends often is going to give you shooting supremacy in a combat matchup, which can then force your combat opponents into some overextending decisions. Whereas if you don't have that shooting supremacy, they can kind of play chicken with you, where they just go, cool, I'm just going to stay out of your charge range, and you're going to stay out of mine, and we'll see who folds first. But when you've got 2 Forge Fiends, they can't really do that, because you're like, okay, cool, I'll just bring on my 2 Forge Fiends and shoot you. And now you lose. So shooting supremacy is important in the combat matchup, and the Forge Fiends do that really well. So having 2 of them, or 1 and a Landraider, is a great way of securing that supremacy. So I probably would go with because you could keep all 3 units of spawn, and the spawn are amazing, so that's tempting. You could keep all 3 units of spawn, and you could just downgrade the Landraider to a Rhino, and that gives you 135 points, which is enough to get that unit of 8-bound, and now you have 2 units of 8-bound. And that essentially gives you an additional trading piece, which is nice. It also gives you an additional aura of +1 to hit, because sometimes you have to use a unit of 8-bound early, and now you don't have it for that aura projection later in the game. So, you know, that's really interesting. I just worry that you lose the shooting supremacy, and maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't, and maybe there's some other ways to work shooting into the list. You could potentially look into dropping a Hellbrute, you know, but that's not something I would personally like to do, because the Hellbrutes were the MVPs for me. So yeah, the Landraider did fine, the Forge Fiend was amazing, Angron was amazing, the Berserkers were amazing, the Spawn were amazing, Slaughterbound and his unit were amazing. There's an argument to be made that they are overkill, but in certain matchups they were necessary. Like the Necron matchup, couldn't have won that without them, because they were able to just go in and one-tap the Silent King from full health to dead. And there's not much in the game that can do that. There's definitely not much in World Eaters that can do that, especially if you're dealing with all these other Catan all over the board. So definitely think their Slaughterbound with Glaive is worth keeping. I definitely think that Angron's worth keeping. Khan's Brick is definitely worth keeping. The Spawn are worth keeping. So the Hellbrutes are definitely worth keeping. So the list is very solid. And I think as far as singles World Eaters lists go, it's definitely one of those top lists that I think people should consider. So with all of that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks again for tuning in, and make sure you chuck in the comments section below what you think of the event, what you think of the list, what you think of the summaries that I did, and if you have any particular archetypes that you would like to see me explore in future videos. Do you want to see more Goretrack? Do you want to see Lord of Skulls? I know a lot of people are asking about that. I'm more than happy to explore some different options. So yeah, let me know what you guys want to see in the comments section below. We'll get a conversation going, and then I'll get in the lab and see what I can cook up for you. And yeah, with that being said, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Head over to exalted40k.com today, where you can pick up branded merchandise and apparel, as well as join our Exalted 40k community, where we talk tactics and strategy, as well as share lists, memes and banter in our private Discord. In addition to personalized one-on-one coaching, head over to exalted40k.com today.